Good morning. Welcome live from the Halitech Hall, Man Cave in Wisconsin. Joining my friend in Chicago, Ivan Vargas. This is Mike Halitech, and you are watching the Barely pregame show. Ivan, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Sorry about the intro. I have everything prepared, but the new intro. Go figure.
It's okay. It's okay. What new intro?
No. Same intro, but different teams. I forgot to switch up.
Oh, okay. Well, considering you're suffering from the brown bottle flu this morning, we won't hold it against you.
Yeah, it's gonna be. Like I said, it'll be a spirited effort today. Hopefully, the Bears show the same type of effort.
Let's hope. Well, and speaking of effort, what an effort from last week! And if you're ready with it, it started really quick with the Bears' very first play from the line of scrimmage.
Man, David Montgomery, a hole that we haven't seen in Chicago all year, maybe for the past 2 years. I know it's a bad team in the Houston Texans, but these are NFL players, and with as bad as this team has played this year, you got to look for the bright spots. To me, that was I have a feeling, I'm not going to say it's the turning point for the line or the offense or the team, but it sure is starting to trend upward. Even with a bad Houston team, you want to see execution, you want to see long runs like that, you want to see big plays, and that's what they did. I mean, they executed. That's pretty much it. If you don't execute, you're going to end up like Houston's previous few games. They were within a touchdown of winning a couple of them. So for me, if you don't execute, regardless of the opponent, you're not going to end up winning the game, or you're going to be in a even closer game than you'd want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was great, and it's not the first time. If you think back, let's go back to the Green Bay game. Okay, the Green Bay game in the series, Monty almost broke a touchdown. I think it was a 57-yard run, got inside the 10-yard line. But sadly, they couldn't finish it off with a red zone touchdown. They came back with a field goal, and that was pretty much the trend for that game. They were moving the ball on the Packers, but they couldn't get the ball into the end zone. So do you happen to have the video clip of the Monty run? Guys, if you didn't see it, you got to see this. This is the best run. It's the longest touchdown run, one of the longest touchdown runs in the history of the Bears franchise.
I think it's on. There we go.
With Montgomery on 1st and 10, is running back in a hole, and then he's off with a nice stiff on, and it's a foot race down the sideline. Jackson in pursuit, Reed in pursuit, he's gone to the house, 80-yard touchdown run. Wow!
And Kevin, we said that they were going to focus on the run. That's what they wanted to do. They've had good balance the last couple of weeks, and David Montgomery was going to get his opportunities. To think he was going to start the game with an 80-yard touchdown run. Outstanding job.
What a run. And, I talked about this. We talked about this on the Halitech Hall show Wednesday night. I love listening to Kevin Harlan. He is one of the best announcers in all of the NFL. He does the Westwood Radio. He does a lot of the games of the week on Westwood Radio. Westwood 1. He's the CBS number 3 team. He could easily be the number 1 guy. I'd love to see him with Tony Romo. Quite honestly,
he's entertaining. I enjoy listening to him on the radio. Anytime you could catch a Westwood 1's coverage of the NFL. I think it might be on 670 on the AM whenever they play football.
Anytime the Monday night games, the Thursday night games, you can listen to him, and he's one of the best. When it comes to painting a picture because when you're listening on radio, obviously you can't see what's going on during the game. And maybe aside from Wayne Larrivee, who used to be the Bears broadcaster, play-by-play man, and then he moved up to Green Bay. He started his career, I believe, in Kansas City. Those two guys painting pictures, and I have a Sirius XM subscription, and on Monday nights when I used to commute home from work, when I had an hour commute, I would pick up the games, and I would go back and forth listening to Home and Visitors broadcast. And I tell you what, there are some brutal radio teams out there. We're very blessed to have what we have with Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer. But Wayne Larrivee, Kevin Harlan, two of the best in the business. Hey, the Bears won, and not only did they win, they won convincingly. When was the last time we saw a Bears team score 30 points? Not in one game, in one half.
Oh, I couldn't even tell you, Mike. I have a feeling but I'm man, I can't think of it.
I didn't do the research. I didn't do the.
It might have been that Bucs game a couple years ago, Mitch's 6-touchdown game.
Yeah, they definitely scored more than 30 points in that 2018 game. I can tell you the record for most points ever scored in one quarter for the Bears, and I was at that game, and that was in 1985. It was early in the season. I believe it was game 4 of the 1985 season. And the Bears were playing the Redskins, and back in the Joe Theismann quarterback era. The Bears were absolutely getting the game handed to them by the Redskins. The Redskins had outgained the Bears to the tune of 129 yards to just 4 for the Bears, and the Bears were trailing 10-0. After the Redskins kicked a field goal early in the second quarter to make it 10-0, Willie Gall took the ensuing kickoff back 99 yards for a touchdown. On that play, the Redskins kicker, who also handled their punt duties, was injured. And the Redskins were held to a 3-and-out by the Bears, thanks to a couple of penalties. And Joe Theismann actually attempted a punt that went directly to the Bears sidelines. I think it was he got a grand total of a 1-yard punt on the play. The Bears scored on the very first play from scrimmage on that. And all of a sudden, a 10-0 deficit turned into a 31-10 lead at halftime. The Bears rolled in that game 45-10. And that's kind of the game that really started the game, the Bears' dominance going on. They actually went down to Tampa the next week and won an ugly game where they actually got outplayed in the first half by Tampa. But they held Tampa to field goals. It was 12-0 before the Bears finally turned that game around. But that onslaught that the Bears did, 31 points in the second quarter of that game against the Redskins, was just a pleasure to behold. But we got to get back into the present world. The Bears scored 23 points in the second quarter and ended up taking a 30-7 lead into halftime. The Bears only scored 3 points in the third quarter and 3 points in the fourth quarter, but a total domination of Deshaun Watson's Houston Texans. And this was a game that Trubisky needed, because if you remember last year they played Kansas City, and Patrick Mahomes was just primed for that game. And quite frankly, I thought we were going to see much of the same from Deshaun Watson. And, Deshaun Watson, for what it's worth, didn't have a bad game. He was 21 out of 30 for 219 yards and a touchdown, but he was sacked 6 times. But his QB rating in that game was 101, just over 101. But Mitch Trubisky, check this out. Here's the stat line on Mitchell. 24 of 33 for 267, 3 touchdowns. He was sacked 3 times. He had a quarterback rating of 126.7 in last week's game. It was not his best game as a pro, but you know what? It was pretty darn close. And if we could see that from him today, we might be real happy come 3:30.
Yeah, and you know what? It's all about what Bill Lazor wants to continue. If he wants to continue to do what he's doing, or if he, for some reason, wants to go ahead and try something new. I think running the football, rolling Mitch out, moving pockets, that's given Mitch all the confidence in the world. And you know, you heard throughout the week during their interviews, Mitch even told the press, hey, like they weren't allowing me to really have input in the offense. They weren't allowing me to really say, you know, they pretty much were just they were taking in what he was saying and just pretty much dismissing it. And to me, I don't know how you find success like that, you know, with your players. I don't know how you find, especially a player in his position. You can say whatever you want about Mitch. Next year, it seems like everything's going to change. So right now, all we have is the present. So for me, Mitch is doing what he needs to do in an offense that caters to his skill set, an offense that benefits him the most. And to be honest with you, it's looking good. I just hope it looks like it's given the defense some confidence. It looks like it's given the line a little bit of confidence now that they have some type of continuity on there. They've been playing together for a few weeks. I think it's the longest we've had a line combination play together, you know, successful and has some success. But for Mitch, just continue to do what you're doing. Like I said, you're either gonna get franchised or you're gonna get let go. Or you're gonna get a 1-year offer from the Bears, or you're gonna end up walking. So really, just there's nothing. I mean, you have to put it all on the line. You're pretty much playing as a job interview for your next team or for this team, to see if they even want to keep you.
I'm going to stick my neck out here and say that, and this is an if, obviously, if he continues to show what he has shown, not only the last 3 games, but this entire year, that he's going to get a 1-year prove-it deal, and he'll be the starting quarterback heading into camp next year. So that's my prediction. And why do I say that? Okay, you take his 5.5 games. 5.5 games. So the first 2 games against Detroit and against the Giants. The first half against Atlanta, he got pulled at halftime, and now he's played 3 straight games since he's been named the quarterback after Foles' injury. If you extrapolate those, and 5.5 games is a pretty good chunk of a season, correct? It's a little bit more than
it's about a 40, a little over a quarter.
This is if you extrapolate Mitch's total numbers in the 5.5 games that he has played as Bears quarterback this year, Mitch Trubisky would have had a year that is unprecedented in Bears quarterback history. And I'm like, you're like, Mike, you I don't know, you must have been the one drinking last night. It's 369 completions in 578 attempts, almost 3,900 yards, 38.86, 38 touchdowns against just 14 interceptions. That's the year Trubisky is on pace to have had he played a full season. And you can't take that away from him. You just can't. His last 2 games has been lights out. His game against Green Bay, obviously, he was rusty. And he finally came around in the second half, but he moved the ball. The offense moved the ball against Green Bay. They just didn't get into the end zone in the first half, which spelled disaster for this team. Mm-hmm. But think about that. I know we've talked about this. both on the show and on our Halitech Hall show on Wednesdays, we've talked about this, but I'm going to see if I can wake up your memory because you got some of those cobwebs still creeping in after last night. I'm having fun with you, man. Do you know what the record is for Bears touchdown passes in a single season?
Was it Eric Kramer with 29?
That's exactly who it was. 1995, 29, and he was on a pace, if he would have played the entire season, to absolutely obliterate that record. That's insane. When you take a look at it, that's absolutely insane to think that Mitch Trubisky could have had the year that he is if he would have played all season long. Do I think it would have been that good? No, probably not. Mm-hmm. But even if he would have been 30, that still would have set the record. And that's absolutely insane. So
they would have to. The problem is that the lack of wanting to, the lack of humility from Matt Nagy. Again, you could say like Wayne Larrabee, the arrogance of Matt Nagy, to not go ahead and really truly take a step back, let Bill Lazor, even if it was at a certain degree, you get a certain percentage of the play calls. I think we see Mitch in a different light if he's starting the entire season. If we run this type of offense the entire season, I think we're talking about a different type of a Bears team. Maybe like I said, the numbers are there, and I understand them. Like I said, I don't think there would be that, but you can't deny that what you see in the past few weeks, regardless of the teams, is better than what you've seen the first half of the season. And that's including a rout of the Packers. The Bears defense didn't step up in the Packers game. Like you said, the Bears didn't get into the end zone. That's their problem. They have to continue to fight to get into the end zone as opposed to kicking field goals. Because if their defense goes ahead and they lay an egg again, you can't come back from that. We've heard Chuck Pagano say it's like, and say it pretty much without saying it. Once the Bears go down, it's going to be hard to come back. But now that you see this offense moving the football, you see them rolling Mitch out, you see them running the ball. It's a conundrum. Like the Bears fans are in a conundrum. We don't know. Like I want what's best for the team. I don't care to really truly think, just tank. The thing is that if the possibility of winning out and making the playoffs is real, this franchise is not going to lay down. It's not going to lay down as long as that percentage is out there that they can make the playoffs. It's to me, I think the Bears are going to go for it today. I just wish that they would have, or Matt Nagy, or maybe a little bit of the brass up there in the front office probably should have had a say in, hey, maybe Nagy should step away from the play calling. I think you had to have had some type of a talk with him, because if you're seeing this type of production as opposed to what you were doing prior to Matt Nagy giving up the play calling, I don't see how you don't fire the head coach. Like we talk about this like ad nauseum now. That it seems like ever since the Packers game, it's been real. Which one's going? And you hear Ryan Pace, you hear Matt Nagy, you hear both. The thing is that I feel like they're going to keep Matt Nagy around. Has he learned that he needs to humble himself and needs to take a step back at certain points? Has he understood that adjusting is not necessarily laying down or straying away from being who you are as a head coach? You just need some help, bro. Like you're a young head coach. You need older guys, veteran head coaches, or veteran coaches and assistant coaches to help you. You've already fired, you fired an entire staff last season. There's no excuse this season. So for me, I would love to have seen what this offense would have done all year round, but we'll never know. Right now, we have to worry about the Minnesota Vikings, and I think the Bears are. I think the Bears are in a. They're in a weird spot, but I don't think they're in a spot where you need to blow everything up next year.
I think you're right. To finish the recap on the game last week, Trubisky was 24 of 33 for 267, 3 touchdowns, and a 126.7 rating. David Montgomery, only carried the ball 11 times, which was a little surprising. But he had 113 yards thanks to his 80-yard touchdown run. Robinson had 13 targets. He caught 9 of them for 123 yards and 1 touchdown. Jimmy Graham also caught a touchdown pass as well. So, that's the blueprint of this team. That's what they have to do. So just a quick shout out to Luke and Vernon and one of our favorite groupies, Millie, just came on and said good morning. Vernon, we'll talk about the Bears' chances for the playoffs, even if they do win out in the second half of the show. But appreciate your comments. I do think they can make the playoffs, and I'll explain exactly why. So why don't we take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, TickSplits.com, and then we'll get into the rest of the show.
I just heard my favorite band is in town. I'd love to get good seats, but everywhere I've looked, the ticket sites have crazy service fees.
Haven't you heard of TickSplits?
Who?
TickSplits. They don't gouge you with crazy fees. The price they advertise is the price you pay, plus a small delivery fee.
Never pay service fees again. Go to TIXBLITZ.com today. TickSplits.com. Guaranteed seats, low prices. That's TickSplits.com. Every ticket, every venue, everywhere.
Next year, when stadiums we can finally get into stadiums and watch teams, and not only the Bears, but whatever team if you live in Kansas City like Millie does, and you want to go see a Chiefs game or a Kansas City Royals game, or your favorite concert, your favorite band, your favorite performer. You can get all of those tickets at TickSplits.com. Never pay a service fee like you do on some of those other sites. Of course, StubHub is one, and you're paying 20 to 30% service fees after you select your tickets. So, and you can now save 5% by using SportsZone as a promo code. Get your tickets now because they're not as expensive as they've been in the past because nobody's going to events, so you can get some good tickets at some good prices. So thank you, TickSplits.com. And let's get back into it. Vernon, we were talking about you. If you're a fan of the Bears tanking and you want to see draft choices, here's what you need to do today. You want to see Minnesota beat the Bears. You want to see the Cardinals beat the Eagles. You want the Buccaneers to beat the Falcons, and you want the Saints to beat the Chiefs. That will pretty much eliminate any hopes for the Bears to make the playoffs. But the easiest way for the Bears to make the playoffs is this. Green Bay has to win next week. The Saints have to lose one of their next 2 games, either today or next week, which is a Christmas Day game against these very same Vikings that the Bears are playing today. The Arizona Cardinals need to lose one of their last 3 games, and the Bears have to win their last 3 games. Now, you're saying they'll never beat the Packers. Well, they can, and Trubisky has. They beat them to clinch the NFC North Division back in December of 2018. And they held Aaron Rodgers down quite a bit in that game. I just don't have those stats in front of me this morning. But here's the reason. Here's the reason why the Bears can win that last game, even if it means they have to play not the first stringers of the Packers. Mm-hmm. If Green Bay won last night, and it wasn't a very convincing game. They got off to a 21-3 lead, but they had to hold on late to end up winning. If they win next week, and I'm sorry I don't have who they're playing next week in front of me. If the Saints lose one of their next 2 games, and hopefully Kansas City takes care of that today. Mm-hmm. That said, Green Bay clinches the number 1 seed. Because even if they lose in Week 17 to the Bears, they would end up having the same record with the Saints if the Saints only lose one of their last 3 games. but the Saints lost to the Packers earlier in the year. So head-to-head, Green Bay has the tiebreaker. So if they have home field advantage locked up, do you think that they're going to put out their first stringers, many of their first stringers in that last game of the year and risk injury?
Didn't we do that? I mean, didn't we do that to them? What was it, 2011 or 2010?
2010. We played our starters, but we didn't play well.
Yeah, right. I mean, but we played our starters in order to keep them out of the playoffs. So part of me feels like if in one half the Packers are up big, I think they'll go ahead and they'll start pulling guys in the second half and let it kind of play out. But if I have a feeling that they're going to go ahead and try to beat us and make sure that the Bears are out of the playoffs. Like
I don't think so, Ivan. And here's the reason I don't think so. The Packers don't care who they're playing because they're going to be playing at home. Number one. Number two, Aaron Rodgers has been injured twice in games against the Bears. A few years ago, when I think it was Trestman's first year as head coach, the Packers were playing the Bears in Green Bay, and he broke his collarbone. He was out for half of the year, and they ended up beating the Bears on the last game of the season, ironically, to make the playoffs and kick the Bears out of the playoffs. And then they went on to make the playoffs. But and then of course in 18, in 2018, Rodgers got injured in the very first game of the year. He came back in that second half and basically beat the Bears on one leg, and he played most of that season with a small fracture in one of the bones in his lower leg. And that's one of the reasons why they missed the playoffs. So why would you risk putting Rodgers in when you know full well that the Bears are playing desperate football? If they're in a situation where they're 8-7 and they can win out and make the playoffs, it's going to be balls to the walls in that game. And the Bears are going to do whatever they can to get to Rodgers. And if he ends up getting injured in that season finale, the fans are just going to go nuts.
Don't worry, you got Jordan Love on the bench. the heir apparent.
Nothing to worry about, right?
Yeah, nothing to worry about. All joking aside, I hear what I understand. You're absolutely right. I just have a feeling that why not knock them out? Why not knock them out? I feel like Aaron Rodgers will get the start, and they'll end up pulling them if they get a lead or at a certain point in the game. I think they're going to play it like that. I think they're going to play it kind of like just touch and go. They want to go ahead and see how the game flows, and if it's the Bears are going to be playing for their lives, like I said. But I just feel like the way the Packers dominated the Bears last time. Do they really have anything to worry about? Like we saw the Bears defense just get completely frustrated, completely outplayed, out-muscled, out-toughed, whatever you want to say. They got outdone. And I don't see a problem protecting Aaron Rodgers if you're Green Bay. Like they've done it to us time and time again. It's getting nauseating how many times they're able to go ahead and stop our pass rush that that the Bears pay so much money for.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Hey, let's get into the keys to today's game because we only have 16 minutes left on our show today. So I'll go first this week. And my keys are real simple. It's just repeat. just absolutely do exactly what we did last week. So 1, 2, 3, repeat last week. So what did the Bears do last week? What were the keys to the game last week? Defense. They ended up with 7 sacks, 6 against Watson, 1 against McCarron, who came in for a series briefly. 7 sacks for 64 yards in losses. So that's key number 1. Key number 2, play to win and have fun. That's exactly what they did. Of course, it's easy to have fun when your first play from scrimmage goes 80 yards for a touchdown. And you hold one of the quarterbacks from the 2017 draft to only 7 points for an entire game. And third, like I said, have fun. Throw in a couple of gimmick plays. It was funny because for those of you guys that are watching, Ivan and I do not discuss what our keys to victories are each week. We kind of hit each other on the fly. And during the game last week, we were texting back and forth on Messenger, and we nailed this one, this key. We nailed this key. We nailed this key. We both were on fire last week. And then, of course, key number 3 is to win the turnover battle. The Bears have to control the ball, not turn the ball over, get a couple of field flipping turnovers to make it a little bit easier for the Bears to score on offense. And I think if we can do that same exact blueprint from last week, we could be celebrating again come about 3:30.
Yeah, I feel like the Bears realize that, hey, regardless of what's going on, the chaos that the media brings, we're talking, everybody's talking about them because of the lack of wins in that long losing streak. God, I'm glad that's over. But when it's all said and done, the Bears are fighting for the playoffs. They're going to do it. This team's not going to lay down. Like they have too many guys in there, high character guys that they brought in, guys with high motors that aren't going to go ahead and allow this team to just wither and die, regardless of the 6-game losing streak or not. If they have a slither of hope, they're going to go after it. So for me, just keep that same energy. Continue, like you said, have fun, play loose. I know like the seriousness of the situation is there. It's obviously present, but I don't think that the Bears are looking at it as insurmountable. I think the Bears are playing loose, like you said.
And what are your keys, Ivan?
Well, my keys to the game this week is good. So one of them is similar to last week, and that's run. Run David Montgomery, run David Montgomery, run David Montgomery. The guy looks like he's picking up confidence. He looks like he's gaining confidence every time he gets the ball. Every time he gets the ball, it looks like, to me, it seems like he's breaking 3 tackles and fighting for like 4, 5, 6, 7 extra yards during every play that he gets the football. And to me, I love to watch a running back just be tenacious, refuse to go down, refuse to lose, if you will. And David Montgomery is that. He will not quit. So you got to get it. He's like a Tasmanian devil. You have to get him the football. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. I know what they were trying to do earlier in the season. I understand the idea, but once Tariq Cohen went down, you really didn't have another option. And now you're seeing Cordell Patterson he's getting better running the football as a running back as opposed to a wide receiver, but it's not the same. You need your number 1 guy to be the feature guy. Like you need him to carry the load. And David Montgomery, I think he's ready to do that. We've seen it last week. We've been seeing it throughout the season. I think David Montgomery is ready to be the feature back in this offense. Like we're using him too much using him too spotty. We're using him too sporadically. Like just keep him in the game at all times. They're going to have to account for him in the backfield and coming out of the backfield as well as a receiver. So run. Use David Montgomery. Do not allow this Vikings defense. They're not bad. I think they're ranked. The Vikings are ranked 19th. They're older. They're an older defense, but they're a smart defense. So don't allow those guys to just impose their will late in the game, especially at the point of attack. Run. And then number 2, the opposite side of the ball. Stop Dalvin Cook at all costs. We have Akeem Hicks in the game today. Akeem Hicks he was out last game because I think he had a hamstring. He was chasing down Dalvin Cook of all people, and he caught a hammy going running towards the sideline.
Yeah, toward the end of the third quarter. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and then from then on, Dalvin Cook pretty much took over the game. But Akeem Hicks is there today. He's present. He will be in the middle of that defense, wreaking havoc, and hopefully he was enough to do it last time they played until he got hurt. hopefully he could go ahead and he has that similar type of performance today. And, finally, my last one, be aggressive. Be aggressive. Be aggressive. Last week we saw you guys, we saw the Bears play loose. We saw them play free. They looked angry. From the start, Akeem Hicks, the first play, I think it was the first play of the Houston Texans. Akeem Hicks breaks through the line, wraps up the running back, and just absolutely body slams him to the ground. Gets up and just is in a roar, like just going nuts. We need that type of intensity if the Bears are going to win this game, let alone make the playoffs. We're going to need that. We're going to need the aggressiveness to come out for these Bears, because it's going to be tough. You have one more game before you have the big test in the last game of the season, and it's not only like, even if you don't make the playoffs, you're still showcasing for next year. Who's gonna be here? There's supposedly big changes on the horizon for the Bears. As a player, you have to be smart enough to recognize that and say, hey, my ass might not be here next year, so maybe I should go ahead and get my butt in gear, play through the whistle, and see where we could take this with a few games left and an opportunity to make the playoffs. So those are my keys for the Bears. I feel like the Bears are going to have a really good day today.
Absolutely. Hey, it's time for our history corner, and our history corner goes back to 10 years ago, exactly today, when the Bears played the Vikings up at Minnesota. They were using the University of Minnesota Golden Gophers field for a couple of years while the new stadium was being built. And there's two clips that we want to show. Do you have those available for us?
Which clips?
The ones I sent you on Messenger this morning. You don't have them? That's okay.
I don't.
All right. So Brett Favre was the quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings. Corey Wooten sacked him for a loss, and that was the very last play of Brett Favre's NFL career. They knocked him out of the game. He got a concussion. He never came back in. He never played another game, another down in the NFL. And Devin Hester had a punt return to seal the victory, and that happened 10 years ago today. When the Bears knocked Brett Favre out of that game, ended his career, do you happen to know what other quarterback the Bears knocked out of a game that also ended his career?
Same season?
Nope. It was back in the 70s.
Oh, back in the 70s? I couldn't tell you.
Joe Namath.
Oh, really?
Yep. They knocked out. It was a Monday night game in Chicago. Yes, I was at that game, Ivan. Ivan pokes fun at me because we talk about how many games that I've been to over my lifetime. Wayman Bryant, linebacker for the Bears, tackled Joe Namath, took him out of the game, and he never returned. That was his last play of his NFL career. So 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks knocked out by the Bears, and wouldn't it be nice if come week 17 we did the same thing to Aaron Rodgers if they allow him to play. So that is it. And we did something fun on our Halitech Hall Twitter page. We asked some people to send us their picks for today's game, and so it's time for our last segment of the show. The pick is in. So Ivan, I'm going to let you go first since I went first with my keys to the game.
All right, sure. Yeah. For me, it all comes down to if the Bears want it or not. And right now, looking at last week, looking at the way they came out, regardless of the opponent, I feel like they're going to do just that. I feel like they're going to be aggressive. I feel the presence of Akeem Hicks is going to be a huge factor in stopping the run. I don't think Dalvin Cook, gets loose like he did the last game. That means that you're going to see an increase in passes by Kirk Cousins, which is a good thing for that Bears defense because Kirk Cousins doesn't particularly protect the ball very well once he starts getting up in pitch count. I see the Bears big in this one. I see the Bears beating the Vikings pretty bad, and I see it 35-13 to keep with that 30-point trend.
God, I hope you're right. Before I get to my pick, Ivan, the inactives just came out a few minutes ago, and we're going to be without both Buster Skrine and Jalen Johnson is not playing for the Bears. Deion Bush is not playing, and then two longtime list makers for the inactive list, Latavius Simmons and Artavis Pierce are on the inactives. But for the Minnesota inactives, and this is good because he's killed us in the past, and he's one of the best tight ends in the league. Kyle Rudolph is inactive today, and I had no idea that was going to happen. Also, their linebacker Eric Kendricks is inactive. So, both teams are missing some really important cogs in their machine for today's game. So it's definitely going to be interesting. I am, maybe not so optimistic as you are in terms of today's game because of the fact that Jalen is not going to be playing. But I think it's going to be a struggle. But ultimately, I do think the Bears are going to prevail. And I have the score 27-17 Bears. So I don't know if you're scrolling the guys, but here are some of the picks that we got on Twitter. At Bears House 10, Bears 32-10. Like a Sandman, Bears 24-17. At It's the Bears 34-17 Bears. And at 34, Sweetness Fan has the Bears 417 to the VIKINGS 11. And then a couple of late ones that came in at Soxyback, Bears 28-24. At Scar, I guess, at Scar _ 179 New York. So I don't know where he gets to be a Bears fan from.
What if
but
it's Neil Young?
What?
What if it's Neil Young?
Well, it could be. Who knows? He's got the Bears at 24-23. While we have a couple of minutes left, if you guys that are listening and watching the show live want to throw your scores up, maybe we can throw a couple of scores from our listeners and watchers this morning. So, Ivan, this is the Bears have to be 1-0 for 4 straight weeks. They're 1-0 in week 1. They need to be 1-0 this week, 1-0 next week, and 1-0 against Green Bay, and just a little bit of help from just a couple of teams, most notably. Green Bay has to clinch the division, so they rest their starters in week 17. New Orleans has to help us by losing one of their next 2 games, and the Cardinals have to lose just one of their next remaining games so we can get ahead of them in the tiebreaker battle. If the Bears win today, not only they would be tied divisionally with again head-to-head 1-1, but the next tiebreaker is common opponents, and the Bears of course have the edge there, plus they have a 1-game lead, so they can't relinquish this by losing another game going into the last 2 weeks of the year if they can pull this one off. Millie chimed in with the Bears 28, Vikings 14. It's a great guess, Millie. I hope you're right. That puts us up against the 11 o'clock hour, and Ivan's got another show to do. So with that, thanks for listening, and we will see you Wednesday night at 6:30 Central on the Halatech Hall Show.
Bear down.
I just heard my favorite band is in town. I'd love to get good seats, but everywhere I've looked, the ticket sites have crazy service fees.
Haven't you heard of TixSplits?
Who?
TixSplits. They don't gouge you with crazy fees. The price they advertise is the price you pay, plus a small delivery fee.
Never pay service fees again. Go to TIXBLITZ.com today. TixSplits.com. Guaranteed seats, low prices. That's TixSplits.com. Every ticket, every venue, everywhere.